the Silver Screen City.
Welcome back to the show. I am Jared.
And I am Michael.
And that was scary. And I am Ian.
I was like, oh, why are we all talking weird?
I was like Bane.
Welcome back to the show.
Hello, Silver Screen Center.
All right. Today we are going to be talking about the worst practical effects in films.
Yes.
Anything that is done physically, like it could be makeup or stunt work or what have you, just as long as they didn't try to add anything with computers or any kind of special effects like that.
Yes, we're talking like hit by a big wave, a big bucket of water off to the side, being thrown onto the actor. That's practical. Totally.
Yeah. It's not like Star Wars Episode 1.
Yeah, it's like everything needs to be green because the computers are going to do all the work. Anyway, that's the opposite of this, which is bad.
Yeah.
But this is like, oh, they tried, sort of.
Yeah.
A for,
they did what they
for
could.
effort. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a big cop out when when they want to do something, but they're like, let's just do computer graphics, and it's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I mean, even when it's like like an early on movie that could have easily done something practical, but they did computer. Like, I'm talking like maybe even before at the Star Wars prequels. It's just like, ooh, you should have just tried a little bit harder, which is ridiculous when they do things like that.
Yeah, and I think I think a lot of times people, like, if you watch some of these movies with bad practical effects, I think they have a hard time figuring out how to do it, because you have to have like engineers sometimes that really know how to pull off some of this stuff. You look at like Lord of the Rings and how they did all the forced perspective stuff. That like boggles my mind how anyone can think that up. And
yeah,
right.
But I'm so glad they did, because that's fascinating.
I think also it's a big. It has a lot to do with like your creative team and your your effects crew, because they're like practical thinkers. Hey, look what I did. And they think of creative. They're problem solvers. I feel like, of course, you can just like we can't figure it out. Let's just hire somebody to do it on the computer, and it usually turns out kind of crappy.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. And not every practical effects artist is a Stan Winston, so you're not gonna hit a home run all the time.
Right.
Yeah, and a lot of the like special features on DVDs, especially with practical features or practical effects movies, they'll be like, no one had ever tried this before. Like every movie, no one had ever tried whatever they were trying to do before. So all of them are just kind of winging it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
And this episode is going to be very. It's not going to have any structure to it. We're not going to go around listing off. We're just going to discuss and keep it loose, not be so stuffy.
So.
All right. So who has their list of 3 that we can go in order doing?
Now that we have no structure, who's got structure?
All right.
I have probably too many listed.
Yeah, I got quite a bit. I had to knock a few off. I just it was hard for me to figure out what exactly I was going to do, because there's makeup effects, and there's just like stunt work, bad stunt work, and I didn't know what to go with, so I just did just a little bit of everything. So I'm gonna start off with just a little quick one. This is a monster, or a creature that was created using practical effects, and that is the Mac from Mac and Me.
Yeah.
Which is the dumbest looking creature you'll ever see. It's perpetually like shocked, like, who? What's going on?
Huh?
And
oh gosh,
it's like it has that whistle face, and it never leaves the same expression. It's so bad. I remember the movie as a kid. I actually liked it as a kid, but looking back, it's horrible. I don't know if you've seen it before, but if you haven't, look up on YouTube Paul Rudd Mac and Me, and you will love it. Have you guys seen that?
No.
Mac and Me? Oh yeah.
No, Paul Rudd. His.
Oh yeah, I've seen all of those.
Okay.
Yeah, where Paul Rudd trolls Conan O'Brien like
Yeah.
over and over.
That's-
Yeah.
Basically, if you haven't seen it, for several years, this has been an ongoing joke for many, many years, where Paul Rudd will go on Conan O'Brien, and he'll introduce a clip for the movie he's selling, and it'll always be the same clip from Mac and Me.
Yeah.
And
not-
it's such a good clip too.
And yeah, it's the most absurd clip. It's the main character, the boy, other than Mac. We're talking me here. He's this boy in a wheelchair, and so the scene is his wheelchair goes out of control, and he's rolling down a hill, and he rolls off of a cliff.
and it's a very obvious dummy getting thrown off a cliff. And then he lands in the water, and as soon as he lands in the water, Mac like pops up in front of the camera with this stupid look on his face, like what? It's so bad, but it's so funny to see that. There's a compilation out there on YouTube of Paul Rudd doing all of his intros to his clips. It's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so funny. Like that's one category of just like that's like a big chunk of like the bad practical effects is when you have like something that's made out of like rubber, plastic, vinyl, cellophane, whatever, like this big prop or character that is clearly so fake, and the interaction with it on film is just unbelievable. Like The Fugitive.
Oh, so good.
Oh man.
The most clear case of a dummy being thrown off of a cliff. Oh man.
Which is so funny because that movie is so freaking good.
Yeah, it is. Like you think that they would have at least watched that in the dailies and been like, let's reshoot that maybe, or maybe just cut immediately to the second shot of the other guy falling down the waterfall. But yeah, that first one is clearly a dummy. The way it just limply jumps off the edge.
I feel like the cinematographer and the director, they clearly wanted this shot of like looking down.
It's a great shot. If
Yeah.
the dummy wasn't in it.
So
Yeah, it turns it into a comedy.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't seen the movie, it's one of the biggest climaxes, one of the most famous scenes in the movie, where the fugitive Harrison Ford is cornered, and he chooses to jump.
I didn't kill my wife, and then I don't care.
Yeah,
Great line.
Yeah. Oh man. And so anyway, it's like this climax where he just decides he's going to just kind of just jump off the dam, and he like leans forward and he goes. In that first shot of amazing looking down at the dam, you have this stiff dummy that's just lobbed off the dam. It's like a mannequin. It looks like a stiff mannequin, like department store, just like.
I mean, because if you look at Harrison Ford, the shot right before it, he's like, flailing his arms, trying to jump off the thing, and then suddenly his arms are just limp against the side.
Yeah, like, and then the wide angle shot of the body falling down the dam from really far away. You just like looks like a bunch of like limp sandbags like tied together in a body form that is just like total ragdoll. It's so funny.
Oh, man. Yeah, they could have totally done something different. I don't know.
Yeah, all the shots are really awkward. And then that last one, that I'm viewing it right now. The last one of him falling, he's like falling against the dam and he's against the water and it's just a bad shot of like something in the white water. Like it's just bad. You look at all three shots together, you're just like, yeah, none of these fit at all. It's really bad.
Probably the best example I've ever seen though of like a dummy falling off. There was this movie called White Wolves: A Cry in the Wild 2, and it had Mark Paul Gosselaar, who we all know from Saved by the Bell, and he's on like this camping trip or something, and like their camp counselor falls off a cliff, and it is a close, well, not a close up, but like it's really zoomed in, and it is a very, very obviously ragdoll guy because he's like bouncing off of rocks and stuff, and it just looks so painful. But like from the second he falls off, he's like immediately ragdoll. It's not like he hits a rock and becomes ragdoll because he's injured. No, the entire time his arms are going backwards weirdly, and it's just terrible.
What's the movie called?
It's if you look up Cry in the Wild 2, I want to see if there's I hope there's a clip on YouTube or something. But it was White Wolves: A Cry in the Wild 2.
Yeah, I don't understand why people think that is okay to just use a limp dummy, especially when they're in a position where they're clearly not going to be limp. Like Terminator 2, when he jumps on the back of the car chasing Arnie and John Connor, and he latches onto the back of the car, and then the car drags him around the corner, and the dummy's just sliding along. You know, because
it's so stiff.
Yeah, it's stiff, and the dummy's head is like down below its arms, just like hanging down. Like it's not even like it's attempting to climb or anything. It's just like, burp, here I am. It's like, really? I mean, Terminator 2 is one of the most successful special effects blockbusters I've ever seen. I mean, everything worked so well, and then they do that. I love when people clearly have the budget to do massive CG, but they go practical. But in this instance, that was not a good choice. Get a stuntman with pads or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, how hard is that? Like, you can drag it like a stuntman. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
So, like, they weren't even going that fast.
No, they were just rounding a corner.
Yeah. I think for the next one, I want to bring up Return of the Jedi, the original one, not the special editions, not the redone George Lucas ones. I'm talking about the old Return of the Jedi release.
Mm-hmm.
When Luke falls into the Rancor pit, there's this, besides just the stop motion animation, there's this part where the Rancor, like, it shows from high up looking down at Luke, and he's like holding this bone, and then like the Rancor steps in front of him, and it's like the Rancor is transparent almost because you can totally see Luke behind him. And like, I know, like, I guess the way they do that is they would take the actual film negatives and, you know, put one on top of the other and try to do their best. But in this one, nope, it was just, I can totally see Luke through your shoulder, Rancor.
I love it. There's so many bad effects in Star Wars, but I mean, it gets a pass because it's so beloved, but I mean, you kind of see why George Lucas wanted to change it, because some of the even the creatures that they created were so stupid looking.
Yeah, like, because definitely those special editions, like, if he just cleaned it up, cool. But there was, like, when they added that musical number in Return of the Jedi,
gosh.
like, no.
That's so annoying.
Yeah. I guess another one, I definitely would say Total Recall, when Arnold Schwarzenegger and that girl, like, are outside in the atmosphere in Mars, and then, like, their faces start almost blowing up, and it just looks like a Arnold Schwarzenegger balloon.
Oh,
it's awful.
It's like so painful. It's cartoonish,
and that are jiggling really fast. Now, I actually like that because of how like cheesy and lame it is. That's like I love Total Recall for one thing, but I love Paul Verhoeven's movies and his effects, his practical effects. But this is one of those that is just it's so out there. Like his eyes are all bulging out.
Yeah,
But I like what I really like is that it looks so much like Arnie, but it's like if he, like you're saying, it's like if Arnie got blown up like a balloon.
If he got like stung in the face by a giant bee. Ooh, this is so swollen.
That's a good point because that special effect, his face looks like what his voice sounds like all the time.
Yeah. I was like, ooh, he's in pain.
But you compare that. You compare that shot to another scene in Total Recall when he's in that fat lady suit. And her face pops out, and then his face is underneath. I thought that was incredible. I was like,
that was cool.
Yeah,
that was cool, though.
It's like
that was Oscar nominated.
Yeah,
that scene.
Was it?
Yeah.
It's like you do that, and then you go and put a rubber Arnie mask on some guy's hand and shake it around a bit.
Yeah.
Come on now. But also Paul Verhoeven on RoboCop. That was one of my picks. There was a shot at the end when he's confronting, I think it's the head of OCP, one of those big business guys, and he shoots him, and he falls out the window. But they use stop motion animation for his falling. But the guy that modeled the figure did such a horrible job. Like his arms are like longer than his legs. It's like it's so weird looking. It's like those if you've seen Return to Oz, those guys with like the wheelers or whatever they are with the wheels on their arms. He has like arms that are long like that. It's it's just freaky looking.
Yeah, that's just it looks so weird. And I don't know how something like a scene like that would be passable. Like they watch it and be like, well, that's fine. Yeah.
And these guys that are they're hand animating this model for hours and hours. That means they're staring at this thing for several hours. This little model of a clay guy. Don't they look down at it and say, it doesn't really look like a guy, a normal guy's
proportions. Know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe just back then it was just like, that's all we have. We don't have the resources to do anything better than that, so we're not going to really throw a guy out the window. So we'll stick with it. Yeah. But you compare that to Die Hard's falling out the window scene. That is one of the best shot. Like, I mean, it still holds up as a visual effect.
Oh yeah.
How couldn't they do that? That was incredible.
Yeah, that was obvious green screen stuff, but it worked
still
really well.
It was so well done, even for then. Yeah,
I also feel like the clip was such more an emotional sort of like scene because I think people are just like more focused on the fact that yes, he's falling instead of like, let's see, does that look real?
Yeah. Gosh, the look on his face when he realizes he's falling, just like, oh snap.
Oh, Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
Well, I heard why his face looks so good is because they told him that they were going to count to 3 or something, and they let him go beforehand, like before the count was over.
Perfect. There you go. Genuine.
That's how you got to do it. That's awesome. Speaking of some older clips, I want to dig back to one really far, and that's the 1960s version of Batman.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And we're talking the scene with the shark. That's right. Batman is in the helicopter, him and Robin, and they're going down to try to find the bad guy's boat. And he's getting lowered into the water, and he gets bitten by a shark, or a shark is holding onto the ladder. And so there's this elaborate scene where Batman is fighting off a shark that's holding onto a ladder in midair under him, and he's just like awkwardly punching this giant rubber shark, and it's just like,
goodness.
I mean, for what it was, it's like, well, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Like, but I think the fact that it was so bad, I mean, it was bad, but not because they did anything wrong. It's the fact that they actually made that scene. Like, why would you do that? And then, of course, the whole shark. Batman does have shark repellent, bat spray. So.
At all times in his belt, why not?
Yeah. Or no, it was apparently up in the cod pit, and he calls to Robin to get the shark repellent bat spray, and he looks at the wall, and there's a lot of different ones. There's different animals, like sea creature sprays. He's like, the shark, and he throws it down to him. Oh, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's a very famous. Everybody knows about that scene, but it's just like ridiculous. And he's just. What gets me is him like fighting off this big, clearly not moving like rubber shark, like the stiff rubber shark. There might have been a guy at the bottom, like holding the tail and whipping it around a little bit, but it is just so bad. Even for the 1960s, it's just really bad. But by bad, it's also great. So
we should use that phrase, punch the shark, instead of jump the shark is when something was good, and then it just kind of totally there's a turning point. This should be a bad idea from the start that somehow got made. Man, that movie totally punched the shark.
Yeah. Oh man, what a shark punch.
Yeah, man, The Happening, that was such a shark punch of a movie.
Freaking shark.
Speaking of Batman, also the same Batman movie, I know they definitely did it in the old TV show. I'm pretty sure they did in the movie too, where they have a rope that is hanging off the side of the building.
And
yeah. And Batman and Robin are climbing up the side of the building very slowly, but they are very, very clearly, they've just turned the camera on its side, and they have like a rope that's already steadily in place, and they're slowly walking on the ground. Like if you turn your head, you can see absolutely that's what's happening.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
And they definitely in the TV show, they used to do it all the time. I think they did in the movie too.
Yeah. The producers, the creators of the show thought they were so freaking clever for coming up with that. They're like, do the scene.
Yeah. Oh do that wall climbing up thing again. Yeah, that was great.
I love that. It's awesome. It's totally believable.
All the kids at home, how did they do that?
Also, not to mention that Batman and Robin are uncomfortably close together as they're climbing. They're like spooning as they're climbing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So awkward.
Yeah, even their capes are kind of like pulled behind them by strings to make it look like they're hanging.
Yeah, you can find. I found some pictures of the behind the scenes, the studio of the set, and you can see them standing right there, and they have a specific set of like the side of the buildings on the side. That's so funny and cheesy, but great.
Since we're talking about old movies doing what they could, this next one, I feel like any film school people are going to get real mad at me for saying it, but I'm going to say it, Jason and the Argonauts. And really any of the Ray Harryhausen movies, too, that he made, because he was very popular back in the day. But when we were coming up with a list of things, this was actually the first movie I thought of, because especially nowadays when you go back and look at it, if anyone hasn't seen it, it's like a Greek epic story, basically. And there's this one scene in particular that I think a lot of people know, where he's fighting like the skeleton army, and and just like the skeleton, they don't even look like skeletons. They look like what a child with clay would make to try to do what they think a skeleton looks like.
Oh my gosh.
And like they're fighting like these claymation or not claymation, stop motion skeletons are fighting against real people, and just that whole thing about stop motion, the frame rate was not the same. Like the people, I'm assuming, were in like 24 frames per second normal movie style, so it was pretty smooth. But these things were like 5 frames per second probably.
Jumping around everywhere, skipping.
Yeah. It was just like they don't exist in the same world. So I know that all those Ray Harryhausen movies are very well beloved and very well respected by all the people who do the special effects, but I'm sorry, man. I even when I was a little kid, and when you're a little kid, you think everything's real. Even then, I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah, I used to love all those. I'm looking up right now the Sinbad. I remember the fight with the Cyclops. Oh my gosh, it's bringing back so many memories. But yeah, it's so cheesy to look at now. I mean, Clash of the Titans. It's just it's laughably bad, but there's a certain charm to that. How bad it is.
Not that Clash of the Titans, the new one, was that much better, but
oh my gosh,
oh yeah,
that was awful.
The opposite, just like too much.
Not fun at all.
Yeah.
But on a similarly, like if they tried to go practical back then and not do the stop motion like they did, the other option is to go the Army of Darkness route and to actually bring prop skeletons on and have someone underneath the camera just making it shaking them around.
Yeah.
Making him jerk around really like
Even that I might prefer.
Oh my gosh. I remember when I first saw that, I lost it because they have guys in skeleton suits. Like, they have it's really poorly done, but the guys' heads are clearly bigger than they should be because they're wearing like a skeleton mask, and so they're guys just walking around normally. But to try and sell it even more, they get the actual skeletons out there, and then they have like someone moving their jaw to make them talk, and it's just I laughed so hard. Especially there's one scene in particular where Bruce Campbell's, I think, is like in a courtyard of the castle fighting, and quite literally, he's fighting, and he turns around, and someone off camera just throws a skeleton at him. He like catches it in midair and like struggles with it, and then throws it down. I was like, "This is great! This is like the best thing ever." Oh, it's awesome. See, that's a great use of crappy effects.
Oh, you know what was almost? I'm going to use this as I'm going to say this is a close call. I think, Jared, you mentioned this on a previous podcast, but Jurassic Park almost went that way.
Ooh.
Like, before they went the CGI route, the test footage when they were doing their stop motion, that looked so bad, man. Like, I'm so glad that wasn't made.
No kidding. It would have been a completely different movie.
Yeah.
Now, I will throw one scene out there as being crappy visual effects or practical effects if you watch it in slow-mo. The scene where Muldoon gets cornered or gets trapped by the Velociraptor, the whole the clever girl scene. If you watch him get jumped, he has a rubber Velociraptor like wrapped around him, and if I've watched it several times in slow-mo, he's clearly just shaking around a rubber Velociraptor. But it's obscured by like bushes and branches and stuff, but you can barely see it. But yeah, it's so obviously because the mouth doesn't move. It's the Velociraptor's mouth is in the same position. It's like and he's just like jiggling it around to make it look fearsome. And so yeah. It worked pretty well because it was such a quick shot, but it's still pretty funny. I can't badmouth my favorite movie, so.
No, it's so good, but yeah. Oh, did you ever? I don't know if you guys. I'm sure if you guys have seen Ernest Goes to Jail.
Yeah.
But the very end of the movie, there's like this bank robbery scene, and Ernest has like this. It's like a vacuum, like a wet vac or something, and for some reason, like he's like this wet vac is going up the walls and on the ceiling and everything because it's going crazy. But you can very, very clearly see a track that they have built already in the walls and the ceiling, and it only goes along that track.
Oh my gosh.
So you know exactly where it's going to go, and it's not going to go off to the side and go crazy.
Yeah. That's so stupid. Oh my gosh. I haven't seen that since I was a kid. But you know, there's a thing that one of my biggest pet peeves in movies is bad wire work. You know, clearly someone's getting like if someone's getting thrown or, you know, knocked really far and then they're clearly on a wire. I don't know why so many movies do this where they leave the cut too long. Like maybe like 2 or 3 frames too long where you can see them kind of go up instead of down. And a really recent version of this is The Wolf of Wall Street at the very beginning.
Oh.
When they throw the little fella, and when they're throwing him at the target or whatever, they throw him towards the camera. And as he flies towards the camera, he's going straight, and you know he's supposed to kind of fall down a little bit, but he keeps going in the same trajectory where it's, you know, it's no longer like, you know,
possible.
Yeah, it's like okay, no. And that irritates me so much.
Yeah, that I remember thinking about that and be like, that's not possible.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like,
then it happens so often that I'm just perplexed why no one, you know, in the editing room, why aren't they it's like they want to just show off this wire work so badly that they're like, well, let's just let it run a little longer. Why not just cut it off before it looks fake?
Yeah, he would have to be going like, he'd have to be like being thrown like 20 miles per hour to like get that trajectory. I got one. Okay. I got a good one I've been holding. It is none other than the Garbage Pail Kids.
Ooh.
Oh,
man.
No.
Yeah, so that's all I have to say. I mean, honestly, like, that's all I need to say is just that movie. And then when you see the Garbage Pail Kids and you see the makeup, the headgear, the costumes, it'll haunt your dreams. It is the most terrifying things ever because you're like, it looks so real but so not real. It is like, forget the game Friday Night at Freddy's. They need to do something with the Garbage Pail Kids because that is terrifying. Stop what you're doing right now. Pause it and go search for Garbage Pail Kids movie and look at some of the clips. It is terrifying.
Yeah. And I don't know why they went that route. I mean, if you look at the Garbage Pail Kids cards, yeah, sure, they all look like Cabbage Patch Kids, but you know, they're demented, doing gross things. Hopefully, if you've never heard of them, you can look them up and see what the cards look like because they're fantastic. It was like the cool things when we were kids, like, oh yeah, let's sneak off and look at Garbage Pail Kids because they're gross and bloody.
Yeah, it was so taboo. It was the most taboo kids thing out there.
Yeah, they're like banned from schools and stuff.
Oh yeah, it was great, and but they tried to make them look exactly like the cards. Which I don't know why, because there's real humans in that movie, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yep.
So why would they have real humans and then these really disgusting, malformed garbage pail kids?
Yeah, and it's so creepy because, I mean, they had like these, you know, little people play them and wear this like probably really hot, uncomfortable like headgear or helmets. And their outfits, everything about it is so creepy and terrifying. And it's and also, I mean, just the movie by itself is pretty much unwatchable because it's so bad. But it's kind of like where it's like witnessing something so incredibly painfully awkward that it's like uncomfortable. That's how watching this movie is. I could just talk about the looks. It could have been an Oscar winning movie and just the looks alone is just makes the list. But on top of that, it's one of the worst movies ever.
Yeah, just looking at the pictures online, like again, they just all look like they're child versions of Andre the Giant. They're just all so weird looking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's really, really wide, creepy heads. Oh my gosh.
While we're doing this, I've been looking up some Garbage Pail Kids for each of us, and there's not one for me. In fact, I searched for my name, and I got another one for Ian.
Oh.
Let me. I'm gonna send them to you guys real quick.
Okay.
You can search for them, Garbage.
That's I searched for Garbage Pail Kids, and then your names. Here's Ian's. I put it in the message. And...
Oh.
Mike Dyke.
But Mike, you have several. Mike, you have lots of them. Both of you have several different ones.
I kind of like Wolverine. That's kind of awesome.
Wolverine.
Yeah, they're so like.
Mike Dyke.
That's so lame. That's funny. It's like that's really the best thing. But it's funny. It's like the name's like horror, and then the image is like, ooh, is there like a fish coming out of his mouth? It's like water. He's just like throwing up water. I found some of the Garbage Pail Kids the actual characters they highlighted in that movie, and it was alligator, which is an alligator. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Then there's Wendy Winston. Wendy likes to fart. And Nat Nerd. I don't know what. He just has lots of. He wears glasses and he has like a massive amount of zits. And then you have Barfin Barbara, which the picture is actually really disgusting. It's like she's cooking over the stove and
I'm looking
throwing
at it
up.
now.
That's disgusting.
She's cooking her own vomit.
Yeah, it's awful. I can understand.
It's
I was
so
like,
nasty.
yeah, it was like,
And she's like puking so hard that she's cross-eyed.
yeah, it's
Okay.
like these are.
You want to see here's a gross one. I'm sending it to you guys. What the crap?
Whoa. What? Wow.
Can't see it yet. Wait, what about? Oh God. Which one?
Why is
Umbilical
food,
Corey.
like
Ew.
unchewed food coming out?
Umbilical Corey. He's got his umbilical cord still attached, and he's got all sorts of junk food coming out of his umbilical cord. That's disgusting.
Meanwhile, his knees are terrifying. Like they look like just big boils. Ugh.
Man, these are.
They're still taboo. What's going on?
Yeah, I know. This is really taboo. I gotta love the unzipped Zach. That one's funny. Where he's unzipping his face and it's a skull.
Nice.
It's just.
Why did my parents let me play with these?
I remember seeing them, but I don't think I ever owned them because I don't think my parents would have ever bought those.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things you snuck around and looked at.
Yeah, you're like, wow. Pretty sure
man.
somebody at school had them.
Another thing that bugs me when people use practical effects is when an arm gets severed or a leg gets severed and you poorly hide the limb that is supposed to be severed. And the clearest case of this I found was in Deep Blue Sea. I just watched a clip because I haven't seen the movie since it came out on DVD. And it was Stellan Skarsgård. Surprisingly, I didn't know he was even in that. I didn't know who he was then, but he gets his arm bitten off by the shark, and he's like on his side flailing around, and you can see like his elbow is basically sticking all the way out, pushing his lab coat, as far as it can. You can see where his elbow is making his lab coat stretch out, and then where it's supposed to be hidden, like tries to hide it behind him. And it looks so bad. And coincidentally, this movie also has one of the worst CG effects ever when Sam Jackson gets killed.
Yeah, double threat.
Yeah, they're bad on all fronts. That's my list. I don't know. I don't think I have any more.
I got one. It's more of a category. It's in old westerns. Literally all of them. The old ones, when people got shot, there was no blood at all. Like they get shot and they would wince and like look down at themselves and be like, and like fall down. It's like, you have a very clean white shirt on, clearly.
Yeah.
The guy missed you, so why are you acting like you're in pain?
He's playing dead. He's smart.
Yeah, like, I don't know if it was just like they weren't allowed back then or something to show blood or whatever, but
yeah, I'm assuming that's the case, or they just no one was bold enough to do that yet. I don't know, or maybe no one had ever seen someone actually get shot, and clearly they didn't, because they don't know how to act getting shot. They get shot and they're like, oh, they're just, it's like they, instead of getting shot, they have like really bad diarrhea and they're trying to hold it in or something.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm dead.
Yeah, another thing that bugs me is old age makeup. When people they make it really rubbery looking. Like Winona Ryder in Edward Scissorhands.
I was just thinking of that. It was awful.
He's like, there's like no expression on her face except she's just like mortified, like, and then she tries her really bad old people voice. Ugh.
Awful. Worst part about that movie.
Yeah. And then you compare that to like one of my favorite old age makeups is Bilbo Baggins from Lord of the Rings when Frodo sees him again.
Yeah, because they pile it on. They actually took some time and didn't put like this like melty plaster on their face. Actually,
he actually looked like an old man. But yeah, Winona Ryder, she looked horrible. That is our little unconventional list, I guess. It wasn't really a list, but that is our picks for the worst practical effects. I know we missed a ton. There's so many bad uses of practical effects, and if you can think of any, just let us know, because we love to talk about bad effects. And anything in movies that is bad, we like to talk about. So let us know.
Yes.
Thank you all for listening. Make sure you check us out on iTunes. Tell your friends.
Hold listening parties.
Yes.
Or preferably download it on your own.
That's right.
So we get more listeners.
Yeah, everyone should create like a Finer Things Club where they get together and discuss each episode every week.
Yeah.
Yes. Do it. Oh, that Jared. He is so phenomenal.
Yes. The wit is uncanny. Yes.
So cynical.
Although this week's episode was a tad less cynical than I prefer. So yeah, thank you for listening. Have a great week. We're going to be uploading some older episodes soon, so be on the lookout for that. That'll be fun to see how bad our quality was.
The golden years.
Yeah. I listened to our very first episode and I was taken aback. I forgot Mike used to use his computer microphone. It was just like,
Hello, Jared.
Yeah, before I graduated to a real mic.
yes. Nice mic, Mike.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.